On a quiet day in the busy city of Chicago, a strange event occurred that would change the course of history. A ship, unlike anything anyone had ever seen, appeared in the sky. It was smooth, metallic, and almost too beautiful to be real. First, people thought it was a spaceship from another country, or maybe a new technology. But the truth was much more incredible. The ship hovered above the city for hours before slowly landing in an empty field on the outskirts. As the hatch opened, a group of figures stepped out. They were alien girls, all with different looks. Some tall and some short, some with bright eyes and others with unusual skin colors. They had long hair that shimmered in colors that no human had ever seen before. Their appearance was striking, but there was something soft about them too. They weren't aggressive, nor did they look dangerous. They just seemed lost. The Galactic Council had sent them on a peaceful mission to Earth, hoping to form a connection with humanity. They had been chosen for their abilities and their peaceful nature. But there was something about them that made the galaxy uncomfortable. The alien girls had been trained in diplomacy and peacekeeping. But their personalities were a mix of too wild and too gentle for other species to understand. As the alien girls stepped onto Earth, their eyes scanned the land, their hearts hopeful. They were here to help, to share their knowledge, and to bring peace to the troubled galaxy. The people of Earth didn't know what to make of them. They'd never seen anything like it before. Max, a young soldier, was standing near the landing site, watching from a distance. He had always been curious about space and aliens, but he never expected to see something like this. He had seen strange creatures in the wars he fought, but none had been this ... human in appearance. There was something unique about these girls. They weren't just another alien race. They felt different. Max was among the first to step forward. He had been through a lot in his life, seen his fair share of battles, but this was different. These girls had a soft beauty about them, not like the hardened warriors of his past. They were innocent in a way, and Max could sense that they weren't here to fight. But even with that, he could see that the rest of the world didn't share his views. The leaders of the galaxy had warned the Earth Council about the alien girls. They had said they were too unpredictable, too wild, and they had no place in a universe that valued strength and power. Some alien species thought they were weak because they showed too much emotion, and others saw them as a threat because of their hidden abilities. The girls, however, were merely misunderstood. They had powers, yes, but they had never used them. For violence, soon after the alien girls arrived, the Earth Council met to discuss their future. The tension was high as people argued over what to do with them. Some said the girls should be sent away out of fear of the unknown. Others said they should be helped, given the chance to prove themselves. But the decision was made quickly, and it was not in the alien girls' favor. They were deemed too wild for Earth and not useful enough for the galaxy. As the days went by, the alien girls found themselves isolated. They were not welcomed by the galaxy's representatives, and the people of Earth were unsure of what to do with them. They tried to speak to the humans, offering their knowledge, their culture, their gifts, but every attempt was met with rejection. Max couldn't understand why. To him, the girls were more than just alien beings. They were individuals with emotions, hopes and dreams, just like humans. He had seen the worst in people, but he also knew that deep down, humans could be kind and understanding. Max believed in second chances, and he felt it was wrong to turn these girls away without giving them the opportunity to show who they truly were. One evening, as the stars filled the sky, Max walked up to the alien girls who had gathered in a quiet corner of the city. They looked sad, defeated even, sitting alone. He didn't know exactly why, but he felt drawn to them. He noticed one girl with shimmering blue skin and eyes that seemed too wise for her age. Her name was Arya, and she looked up at him, her eyes filled with curiosity. "Hello, Max," said softly. His voice was calm, not threatening, as he took a step closer. "Are you all right?" Arya looked at him for a moment before speaking, her voice gentle but clear. "You're ... confused. The people of this world do not trust us. They think we are too wild, too gentle. They do not understand who we are." Max smiled kindly. "Don't think you're wild or gentle. Think you're just misunderstood. Maybe, if you give it time, they'll they'll see that. Arya hesitated, but then nodded, her expression softening. Gosh. She could feel the sincerity in his words, something that was rare for an alien girl like her. Most of the galaxy didn't understand the value of kindness and patience. But here on Earth, she was beginning to see that there might be a different way. Max spent more time with Arya and the other girls. He learned about their culture, their past, and the mission they had been sent on. He helped them feel at home on Earth, showing them kindness when the rest of the world seemed cold. And slowly, he started to see the girls for who they really were, not wild. Not too gentle, but strong and capable in ways others couldn't yet see, despite the doubt and fear from the galaxy. Max knew one thing for certain: these girls had something worth fighting for. He just needed. Max couldn't shake the feeling that there was more to the alien girls than what anyone else saw. Every day he watched them quietly, sitting by themselves or walking through the city with sad eyes. They were not what others thought they were. They weren't dangerous, nor were they weak. They were simply misunderstood. One evening, as Max walked by the field where the alien girls had landed, he saw Arya again. She was sitting alone under a tree, her eyes staring out at the horizon. Max walked up slowly, making sure not to startle. "Her? You're out here by yourself again," Max said, sitting down beside her. Arya turned to him, her face softening when she saw him. "I do not mind being alone," she replied, her voice calm but full of sadness. "It is what we are used to." Max looked at her and sighed. "I don't think it's the way it should be," he said, his words filled with sincerity. You shouldn't have to be alone. No one should. Arya seemed to think about his words for a moment. "But the others do not understand us. They see our differences and believe we do not belong." Max shook his head. "I don't care about differences. People, aliens, humans, or whatever we are, should be judged by who they are inside. It's not what they look like or where they come from." Arya smiled faintly, feeling a warmth she hadn't felt since arriving on Earth. She wasn't sure why. But there was something comforting about Max's words. They were simple, but they held a truth that she had never heard before. Max continued. To visit the alien girls, spending time with Arya and the others, he didn't force them to talk. He just listened when they did. They would tell him about their home planets, their customs, and the things they had learned in their training. Max didn't judge them for being different. Instead, he admired their strength, their courage, and their desire to help. Arya, especially, began to open up. She had always kept her distance from others, afraid that if she let anyone in, they would only see her as weak or fragile. But with Max, it was different. Nor didn't look at her with pity, nor did he try to change her. He accepted her for who she was, and that was something she had never experienced before. One day, as they sat on a bench together, Arya turned to Max and spoke softly. "You are the only one who sees us for what we are, not for what the galaxy says we should be." Max smiled. "I guess I've always been the kind of person who believes there's more to people than meets the eye. And you've got a lot more to offer than most people give you credit for." Arya looked at him, her eyes full of curiosity. "And what is it that you see in us?" Max paused for a moment, thinking about his words carefully. "I see strength. I see potential. I see people who want to make a difference, who want to help others, even when the world is against them." Arya was silent for a while, contemplating his words. She had always believed that the girls' powers were a curse, something that set them apart from the rest of the galaxy. But Max saw it differently. He saw their abilities as something special, something that could be used for good. Over the next few weeks, Max and Arya continued to grow closer. He showed her Earth's culture, took her to places she had never seen before, and introduced her to people who were kind and accepting. Slowly, Arya started to see that Earth wasn't just a place of fear and rejection. It could be a place of understanding, a place where she and the other alien girls could make a home. One evening, while walking through a quiet park, Arya stopped and looked up at the stars. "I never thought I would find peace here," she said quietly. "I thought the galaxy would reject us forever." Max stood beside her, looking at the stars with her. "You're not rejected. You've just been waiting for the right people to see you for who you really are." Arya turned to him, a soft smile on her face. I wish more people could see us like you do. Max chuckled lightly. Maybe they will. It's just a matter of time. The right people always come around eventually. Max decided to take things a step further. He had been learning more about the alien girls' abilities and realized they had much more to offer than anyone realized. He knew that the rest of humanity needed to see them for what they were, not wild, not gentle, but powerful in their own way. Arya said one afternoon as they sat together. What if I told you that you're capable of more than you think? Arya raised an eyebrow, intrigued. What do you mean? Max leaned in slightly. I've seen it in your eyes. You have the power to change things. To make people see the truth? Arya's eyes widened. I've never thought about it like that before. My abilities, ... are not just for peacekeeping. No, Max said with a smile. They're for much more. You have the ability to influence people's hearts and minds. You just need to trust yourself. Arya felt a surge of hope inside her. For the first time since she arrived on Earth, she felt like she wasn't just an alien or a tool of peace. She was someone who could truly make a difference. And it was Max, the human who believed in her when no one else did, who had shown her that. In the days that followed, Max and Arya worked together. They began to explore her abilities more deeply, and soon, she was able to connect with others in a way that no one thought possible. The alien girls, once isolated and rejected, began to find their own strength and power, all thanks to the trust and belief Max had shown them. As Max looked at Arya, he knew that together they could change the way the world saw the alien girls. They weren't too wild, and they weren't too gentle. They were exactly what humanity needed, and Max was determined to make sure the galaxy. The days passed, and Max continued to spend time with Arya and the other alien girls. He had been helping them adjust to life on Earth, teaching them about human culture, and showing them kindness when the rest of the world treated them with uncertainty. But Max knew there was something more about these girls, something deeper that no one had discovered yet. He could sense it in the way they carried themselves. There was a quiet strength about them that most people missed. He wasn't sure what it was, but he knew it was important. One afternoon, as Max and Arya sat together in the park, he noticed something strange. Arya, who had been quiet for a long time, suddenly looked up at the sky. Her eyes seemed to shimmer in the sunlight, and for a brief moment, she appeared to be lost in thought. Max noticed a subtle change in the air, as if something was shifting around them. Arya, are you okay? Max asked, concerned. Arya blinked and turned to him, a slight smile on her face. I'm fine, she said softly. I just, felt something. It's hard to explain. Max frowned, unsure of what she meant. What do you mean? Something like, what? I'm not sure, Arya replied, her voice uncertain. It's like a connection, like I can feel something inside me that I didn't know was there before. Max's curiosity grew. What do you mean by something inside you? Arya paused, looking at her hands as if searching for answers. When I first arrived here, I thought my powers were only meant for peacekeeping. But now, it feels like there's something more, something hidden. Max's eyes widened. Could it be possible? Could the alien girls have abilities beyond there, training beyond what they had been taught? He had seen the way Arya had changed since they first met. Her confidence was growing, and so was her sense of purpose. If there was more to these girls than anyone knew, Max had to find out. The next day, Max sat with Arya again, this time in a quiet room at a community center where they could be alone. He had an idea, but he needed Arya's help to explore it. Arya, Max said gently, I think you're onto something. I believe your abilities are more than just tools for peace. I think you have the power to do more than you realize, maybe even change things. Arya looked at him with surprise. Change things. How? Max smiled, excited. I think you can. Influence people, not just through words, but with your mind. You can make them see things differently. Feel what you feel. Arya frowned, unsure. I've never tried that. I've always used my abilities to calm others, to keep peace. I never thought I could do something more. Max's eyes sparkled with understanding. That's exactly why I think you're the one who can lead this. You have the power, Arya. You've just never had the chance to truly explore it. Arya hesitated, but then nodded. I'll try, she said, her voice steady. Over the next few weeks, Max and Arya began testing her abilities. At first, it was small things, subtle changes in the atmosphere around them. They would sit in a crowded place, and Max would ask Arya to focus on a person, trying to make them feel calm or at ease. Slowly, Arya's abilities grew stronger, and the people she focused on seemed to change. Their anger softened, their worries faded, and they began to feel the peace that Arya could offer. As Arya's powers grew stronger, Max started to notice something else. It wasn't just the people around them who were changing. It was Arya herself. She was beginning to believe in her own worth. The more she practiced, the more confident she became. She was no longer the quiet alien girl who kept to herself. She was becoming a leader, someone who could inspire change in others. One evening, as they sat together on a rooftop overlooking the city, Arya turned to Max. I never thought I could do this, she said, her voice filled with wonder. I always thought I was too different, too much of an outsider. But now, ... I feel like I'm finally starting to understand. Max looked at her, his face serious. I knew you had it in you all along. Arya smiled, a small spark of hope in her eyes, but I don't want to be alone in this. I want the others to see it too. I want them to know that they have this power too. Max nodded, understanding her desire. You're not alone, Arya. You've got me, and you've got the rest of the world. Together, we can make people see the truth. The next day, Max brought the other alien girls together. They met in the same community center where he and Arya had been practicing. Arya stood in front of them, her eyes glowing with newfound confidence. She explained what she had discovered about her abilities and how she believed they could all do more than anyone realized. At first, the other girls were skeptical. They'd always been taught to use their powers in specific ways, to stay calm and peaceful. But as Arya spoke, something changed. They began to feel the same spark of hope she had felt. Maybe they, too, could unlock the full potential of their abilities. Max watched as the girls began to focus on each other, practicing their abilities in small ways. Some of them found that they could influence emotions, while others discovered that they could connect with people's thoughts. Each girl had a unique ability, but they all shared one thing in common: the belief that they could make a difference. As the days passed, the alien girls grew stronger, more confident. They weren't just tools for peace anymore. They were a team, united by their shared abilities and their shared hope for the future. Max smiled, knowing that this was only the beginning. The alien girls had so much more to offer, and he was determined to help them find their place in the world. Together, they would show the galaxy that they were more than anyone had ever. The days following Arya's discovery of her powers were filled with excitement and anticipation. The alien girls, once isolated and misunderstood, began to see their abilities in a new light. Max watched them grow stronger every day, their confidence rising with each small success. They were no longer the fragile, gentle beings the galaxy had once rejected. They were powerful, unique, and ready to make a difference. But not everyone was ready to accept the change. The rest of the galaxy had been watching, waiting for any sign of weakness. The alien girls had been sent to Earth to build peace, but now their powers were becoming a concern. The Galactic Council, the very organization that had once sent them on this mission, began to question whether the girls' abilities were too dangerous for the galaxy to handle. One day, as Max was walking with Arya, a message arrived from the Galactic Council. It was short and direct, a summons for Arya and the other alien girls to return immediately. Max felt a chill run through him as he read the message. They're asking you to leave, Max said quietly, looking up at Arya. They're scared. Arya's eyes widened, a mix of surprise and confusion. But we've done nothing wrong. We came here to help. I know, Max said, but they're afraid of what you might become. They see your powers, and they're worried. Arya took a deep breath, trying to calm her racing heart. She had worked so hard to prove herself, to show that she and the others were not the threat the galaxy believed them to be. I don't want to leave, she said softly, her voice full of determination. I believe in what we're doing here. We can make a difference. Max placed a hand on her shoulder, offering her reassurance. We'll figure this out. You've come so far, Arya. You've shown the galaxy that you're not a danger. You're more than that. But as the days passed, the pressure from the Galactic Council grew stronger. It demanded that the alien girls return to their ship and leave Earth immediately. The Council feared the power that Arya and the others had begun to wield. They saw it as a potential weapon, something that could be used for destruction rather than peace. Max couldn't stand by and let the alien girls be taken away without a fight. He knew that the Council didn't understand the alien girls like he did. They hadn't seen what he had seen, how kind, how strong, how capable they were. He couldn't let them be treated like weapons, locked away and hidden from the world. The time had come for Max to make a decision. He couldn't just stand there and do nothing. He had to act. Late one night, Max gathered the alien girls together in the safe house they had been using. The room was quiet, the only sound the soft hum of the city outside. Arya stood at the front, her face serious as she listened to Max's words. "The galaxy is scared of you," Max said, his voice firm. "They don't understand what you can do. They think your powers are dangerous, that you might use them for harm. But we've never done anything to harm anyone." One of the alien girls spoke up. Her voice was full of frustration. "We've only tried to help." Max nodded. "I know. But sometimes, when people see something they don't understand, they react out of fear. They see what's different and they worry about it. The galaxy doesn't know you the way I do." Arya stepped forward, her eyes shining with resolve. "Then it's time to show them who we really are. We can't let fear control us." Max looked at her, proud of how far she had come. He knew she was right. It was time to stop hiding, to stop letting others dictate who they were. The alien girls had power, yes, but it wasn't power to hurt or destroy. It was power to change the world. "We're not going anywhere," Arya continued, her voice steady. "We're going to stay and prove that we are not a threat. Show the galaxy that we are here to help, not harm." Oh, Max smiled. "That's the spirit. But we're going to need a plan. We need to show the galaxy that we can be trusted." Over the next few days, Max, Arya, and the other alien girls worked together to come up with a plan. They knew that simply standing their ground wouldn't be enough. They had to show the galaxy that they were more than just powerful beings. Were allies, friends, and protectors. Max helped them use their abilities in new ways. They practiced controlling their powers to heal, to calm, to create peace. They worked together, each girl learning to trust herself and her abilities more than ever before. They learned that their powers were not just tools, they were symbols of hope. When the day came to confront the Galactic Council, Max and the alien girls stood together, ready to face whatever came their way. The galaxy's representatives arrived in a sleek ship, their cold eyes scanning the room. They were the leaders, the ones who had once sent the alien girls on their mission. But now they saw them as a threat. Arya stepped forward, her eyes full of determination. "We've come to show you who we really are. We are not weapons. We are not a threat. We are here to help." The council's leader, a tall, imposing figure, narrowed his eyes. "You think your powers make you special? You think they make you useful?" "No," Arya said. "I think our hearts make us useful. We don't want to fight. We want to build, want to create peace." Max stood beside her, his voice strong. "These girls are not what you think they are. They're not wild. They're not weak. They're strong, and they are capable of changing the galaxy for the better." The leader of the council was silent for a long moment, his gaze shifting between Max, Arya, and the other girls. Finally he spoke. "Show us," he said, his voice quiet but serious. "Show us that you can be trusted." And so, with all the courage they had, Arya and the others demonstrated their abilities. They used their powers to heal, to create peace, to help those in need. They showed the council that their abilities were not a danger, but a gift that could change the galaxy for the better. The council watched in silence, their fear beginning to fade. They had come to see the alien girls as something they didn't understand. But now they saw them for what they truly were: powerful, yes, but also kind and full of hope. In the end, the council made a decision. They would no longer see the alien girls as threats. They would accept them, not as weapons, but as... The days after their confrontation with the Galactic Council were filled with uncertainty. Max and the alien girls had shown the Council that their powers were not a threat. But they had also made the galaxy's leaders realize something they hadn't considered before. These girls weren't just powerful, they were capable of changing the very fabric of the universe. This newfound recognition, however, wasn't without its consequences. The galaxy was vast, and not everyone agreed with the Council's decision. There were factions that still feared the alien girls, believing their abilities could be used for destructive purposes. Some even saw them as a challenge to the old order, an order built on strength and control, not peace and understanding. These factions began to rally against the Council's decision, arguing that they had made a mistake in letting the alien girls stay on Earth. Max knew that they couldn't afford to sit back and wait. If the alien girls were to have a chance at truly proving their worth, they would have to show the galaxy that they weren't just capable of peace, they could stand up for themselves and protect what they had worked so hard to build. One day, as Max and Arya sat together in their safe, House Max looked at her with a serious expression. "We're going to have to fight for this, Arya," he said. "The galaxy is divided. Some of them want to see us fail." Arya nodded, her eyes filled with determination. "I've never been afraid of a fight," she said softly, her voice steady. "We can't let them tear down everything we've built." Max stood up, pacing the room. "It's not just about us anymore. It's about showing the galaxy that kindness and strength can go hand in hand. We need to prove that peace isn't a weakness, it's a power." The alien girls, once isolated and overlooked, had found a new sense of purpose. They were no longer just diplomats or tools of peace. They were warriors in their own right, fighting not with weapons, but with their hearts and minds. Max knew that they couldn't do this alone. They needed the support of Earth, and they needed to show the galaxy that humans and aliens could work together to create a better future. In the following days, Max and Arya gathered the alien girls together to prepare for what lay ahead. Knew that they couldn't change the galaxy overnight, but they could start by showing the world what they were capable of. It wouldn't be easy. They would face opposition, fear, and doubt, but Max had no doubt in his mind that the alien girls were ready. "Remember," Max said as they gathered in the community center, "we're not fighting for ourselves. We're fighting for the future we believe in, a future where people, no matter where they come from, can live in peace." The alien girls nodded, their resolve strengthening. They had all come a long way from the timid, misunderstood beings they had once been. Now they were united, and together they would show the galaxy that they were not to be feared, but to be respected. As word spread of the alien girls' refusal to leave Earth, the galaxy's leaders began to take notice. Some were angry, some were confused, and others were curious. The factions that opposed them grew louder, calling for the alien girls to be removed and the peace process to be halted. They were afraid of what the alien girls represented: change. The galaxy had always been ruled by power. The idea of peace being a strength was something many couldn't accept. But as the days went on, something began to shift. Earth and the alien girls had something the galaxy didn't hope. People began to see the alien girls not as threats, but as symbols of something better, something brighter. They saw the changes the girls had brought to Earth: the healing, the peace, the understanding. They saw that the alien girls had brought out the best in humanity, showing people that there was strength in kindness. Max and Arya knew they couldn't stop now. They began speaking to the galaxy's leaders directly, using their voices to reach across the stars. They spoke of peace, of unity, and of a future where everyone had a place. Max's belief in the alien girls was unwavering, and his words were powerful. He spoke with conviction, knowing that this battle wasn't one they could win with force, but with hearts that were open and strong. One evening, as Max and Arya stood together, looking out at the stars, Arya turned to him. "Really think they'll listen?" she asked, her voice filled with uncertainty. Max smiled, his eyes filled with confidence. "I know they will, because peace isn't just a dream, something real. And when people see that, They'll know we're not just talking about it, we're living it. The next day, the council called for a vote. It would decide the fate of the alien girls and their place in the galaxy. Max, Arya, and the other girls gathered in a small room, awaiting the news. There was no guarantee that they would win. The galaxy was still divided, and the opposition was fierce. But they had already proven something that mattered more than anything, that they were worth fighting for. The vote was long and tense. When the results finally came in, Max and Arya stood together, waiting for the announcement. The council leader, the same one who had once questioned the alien girl's place, stood up and addressed the room. "We have listened," the leader said, his voice calm but serious. "And after much consideration, we have decided that the alien girls are not a threat. They are not weapons. They are allies." A wave of relief washed over Max and Arya, but they knew that this was just the beginning. The battle for recognition was not over, but they had taken the first step. The galaxy had seen the truth, and now there was no turning back. Max turned to Arya, his eyes shining. "We did it," he said quietly. Arya smiled, her heart full. "We did it together." Together, they would continue to fight for the future, for the galaxy, and for the peace they had always believed. The day after the council's decision, Earth was buzzing with news. The galaxy had finally recognized the alien girls for what they truly were: powerful allies, not threats. Max stood with Arya and the others as they watched the news reports, the world now opening up to the idea of their potential. They were no longer seen as too wild or too gentle, but as individuals capable of great change. Max could see the weight of the moment on their faces, a mix of relief and cautious hope. This was only the beginning, but there was still much to be done. The galaxy's leaders, though they had made a decision, still had doubts. Some were still reluctant to fully embrace the idea of the alien girls working alongside humanity. There were those who believed that the girls' abilities could be dangerous, that their presence could upset the balance of power in the galaxy. Max knew that it wasn't enough for the galaxy's leaders to simply accept the alien girls. They needed to prove, day by day, that peace was the way forward. And it wasn't just about proving their worth. It was about showing that people, whether human or alien, could work together for something greater than themselves. One day, as Max and Arya sat in the park, talking about their next steps, Arya turned to him with a thoughtful expression. "Max," she said, "I've been thinking. We've been fighting so hard for acceptance, for understanding. But we can't stop now, can we?" Max looked at her, understanding exactly what she meant. "No," he said, his voice steady. "This is just the start. We have to keep showing them that peace isn't just an idea. It's something we live every day. It's about more than just words." Arya nodded, her eyes filled with determination. "I agree. We can't change everything at once. We can start by showing the galaxy that we can live together as equals, not just in our words, but in our actions." Max smiled. "That's exactly it. It's not enough to be seen as peaceful. We have to show that peace can be strong, that it's something worth fighting for." The days that followed were filled with a new sense of purpose. Max, Arya, and the alien girls began working with Earth's leaders to build a foundation for intergalactic peace. They worked on forming alliances with other species, showing that cooperation was the key to a better future. While not everyone in the galaxy was ready to embrace the idea, there were those who saw the potential of the alien girls and the humans working together. Slowly, the vision of a united galaxy started to take shape. In the coming weeks, Arya and the other alien girls continued to use their powers for good. They helped heal wounded soldiers, calmed riots, and brought peace to communities torn apart by conflict. The world began to see them not just as alien beings, but as individuals who had something meaningful to offer. One afternoon, as Max and Arya stood together, watching a group of alien girls work with a group of humans to rebuild a damaged city, Arya spoke softly. "Look at them. It's happening, Max. We're building something together." Max looked at the scene before them, a mixture of humans and aliens working side by side. He saw the hope in their eyes, the way they had learned to trust each other. It was clear to him that things were changing in ways that went beyond what they had imagined. It's more than I ever thought possible, Max said, a smile tugging at his lips. I knew you had the power to change things, but this is something different. This is how it was always meant to be. Arya smiled. Back at him, her heart full. We're not alone anymore. We've built something that no one can take away from us. Max nodded. We've shown them who you are. And now they see what you can do. But as the alien girls continued their work, not everyone was happy with the changes that were taking place. Some groups in the galaxy still held on to their fears. Unwilling to accept the alien girls as equals, they feared that peace would lead to weakness, that the galaxy's power balance would shift too much if too many people believed in the strength of peace. One day, Max and Arya received a warning from a faction of the galaxy that still opposed them. It was a direct threat demanding that the alien girls be removed from Earth or face the consequences. The message was clear. If the alien girls weren't sent away, the peace efforts would be destroyed. Galactic factions would not allow peace to weaken their control. Arya, standing by Max's side, read the message with a calm expression, though her eyes were filled with sadness. They don't understand. They think peace is a weakness. Max placed a hand on her shoulder. They're afraid of what they don't understand. But we're not going to let fear stop us. We've come too far to back down now. Arya's eyes hardened with resolve. We won't let them take away what we've built. Peace is not weakness. It's our strength, and we'll prove it. Max smiled. Exactly. We won't let them tear us apart. We've shown the galaxy that we can live together. We won't stop until they see it too. In the days that followed, Max, Arya, and the alien girls worked harder than ever to prove their commitment to peace. They began organizing intergalactic conferences, bringing together species from all over the galaxy to talk, to understand, and to share ideas. They showed that cooperation, rather than control, was the path to a better future. The factions that had once opposed them began to change. Slowly, they started to see the value in peace. They saw the strength in unity, in working together for the common good. And while it took time, the message was clear. Peace was not a dream, but a reality. And the alien girls, once seen as too wild and too gentle, were now seen as leaders' symbols of hope and change for the galaxy. As Max and Arya stood together, looking at the peaceful world they had helped build, Max felt a deep sense of pride. They had done it, against all odds. They had proven that peace was not only possible, it was the future. We did it, Arya whispered, her voice filled with quiet joy. Max nodded, his heart full.